Under the dazzling flash of Hollywood Boulevard, Inger Stevens smiled, her radiant Nordic glow melting the hearts of millions. She was the star of The Farmer's Daughter, a Golden Globe winner, sharing the screen with Bing Crosby and Clint Eastwood, a flawless goddess. But behind the thin veil of fame, her heart bled, trapped in a loneliness no one saw. At 35, Inger collapsed in a cold kitchen, beside a shattered wine glass and an empty pill bottle. Suicide accident, or a dark Hollywood secret. A trembling letter locked in a safe, bruises staining her wrists, sobs echoing in the night. These fragments scream an untold story. What snuffed out the brightest star's flame? Step into Inger Stevens' world, where the stage's light hid deep scars, to uncover the truth behind her tragedy. Can glamour forever conceal a star's wounded heart? Chapter 1. A childhood abandoned, planting tragedy's seeds. In the icy chill of a Stockholm hospital, a baby girl's cry echoed Ingrid Stensland, a child who'd be called priceless in Hollywood's glow but lose everything in an instant. Born in 1934, Ingrid, later Inger Stevens, grew up in Sweden's cold embrace, her father, Per Gustaf, a stern teacher, and her mother, Lisbeth, who abandoned the family when Inger was 6, taking her youngest brother. "My mother didn't want me," Inger once sobbed to a close friend. The pain of rejection was a blade in her heart, leaving a scar that never healed. In 1944, at 10 years old, Inger and her brother Ola boarded the SS Margaret Johnson, crossing the Atlantic amid World War II's deadly stakes. German submarines lurked in the shadows, ready to sink them. Oddly, no photos exist of the ship docking in New Orleans. Why were the travel records suddenly blank in America? No one greeted the children. A Salvation Army stranger led them to New York, where their father, now remarried, was too busy to meet his daughter's bewildered eyes. "I felt like forgotten luggage," Inger once recalled. In Manhattan, Kansas, a cold stepmother made Inger withdraw further. At 15, she ran away to Kansas City, dancing burlesque under the alias Kay Palmer, earning $60 a week when the spotlight hit her heels. Dust swirled, and Inger moved haltingly, as if fleeing the weight of her past. Her father found her and forced her back, but the stage's light had sparked something in her, a member of her father's amateur theater group recalled. Inger looked at the stage like it was the whole world, yet the shadows clung. In 1943, Per Gustaf's bank correspondence abruptly stopped. An unsent letter, found in a drawer, spoke of unexplained debts. Some whispered the family fled Sweden due to his financial scandal, amid wartime economic struggles. This could explain their hasty move and Inger's loneliness in her new family. True or not, it was a piece of a larger puzzle, making her feel she never belonged. Childhood loneliness forced Inger to hide herself, wearing a smiling mask. But could that mask conceal the scars leading to her mysterious death? Did the spotlight ignite hope, or merely paint a new mask to hide her wounds until her final breath? Chapter 2. Hollywood's Light. Far from bright New York, 1953. In a room packed with applause, Inger Stevens shone brightly, but her eyes held a darkness no one dared touch. At 19, she joined the Actors Studio, studying with James Dean and Paul Newman. Her Nordic beauty, golden hair, and dimpled smile made her a gem. But those deep eyes carried a quiet sadness, a studio friend said. Inger smiled, but her eyes were searching for a place to belong. She started with soap commercials, then a small role in Man on Fire in 1957 with Bing Crosby. That film was her golden ticket to Hollywood, but a deleted scene vanished, with no record remaining. In 1960, her role as Nan Adams in The Twilight Zone. The Hitchhiker chilled audiences. Inger played a woman stalked by death, as if mirroring her own fate. Her peak came with The Farmer's Daughter from 1963 to 1966. As a smart, charming Swedish maid, she won a Golden Globe, becoming America's sweetheart. She shone in Hang 'Em High in 1968 with Clint Eastwood and A Guide for the Married Man in 1967 with Walter Matthau. In the spotlight's glow, Inger smiled like a goddess, but each red carpet step echoed her loneliness. Fans adored her elegant beauty and versatile talent. One wrote, She brought intelligence and depth, breaking the blonde bombshell mold. But Hollywood disagreed, forcing her into bubbly roles, denying her deeper parts. In the 1960s, actresses had to be both alluring and pure, and Inger smiled through a breaking heart. A journalist noted, "She was a star, but Hollywood wanted her as a doll." The pressure to stay perfect isolated her further. She told a colleague, "I don't know where I belong." Then, darker secrets emerged. An unpublished script and rumors of a secret deal to silence her were just the start, in a Hollywood ruled by hidden power. Inger's fight to break free of stereotypes may have made her a target. Her dazzling success couldn't fill the void in her heart. And those secrets, like shadows under the stage lights, led to her questionable death. Millions cheered her. But could anyone name the pain hidden in that star's heart? Chapter 3, a beautiful love that brought isolation under Hollywood Boulevard's flashing lights. Inger Stevens waved to fans, but behind that thin veil, her heart thrashed in pain, caged in the spotlight. She sought love, but each romance plunged her into darkness. In 1955, at 21, she married her agent, Anthony Soglio. He controlled her every move, his jealousy suffocating. Each time he locked the living room door, Inger heard the bolt slide, trapping her in a sealed box. The marriage collapsed in 1958, leaving her heart cracked, like a shattered mirror. Then she met Ike Jones, a black producer, a rare light in her life. They secretly wed in Mexico in 1961, but the 1960s were steeped in racial prejudice. A marriage between a white star and a black man could ruin her career. They lived in separate homes, filed taxes as singles. Inger loved Ike deeply, but she feared the world would destroy them both. A close friend said. A letter found later in a locked safe, in trembling ink, read, "If they find out about us, we'll lose everything." Who forced her to hide this love? And why was the letter never sent in a Hollywood ruled by unseen forces? Her love may have been threatened by those enforcing the rules. Tabloids hounded her. Confidential in 1965 claimed affairs with Bing Crosby and Harry Belafonte. Let's ask, did Hollywood blacklist her for daring to love a black man? Vicious whispers surrounded her, like thorns piercing her heart. She sobbed to a friend, "I can't live as myself." Hiding her true love isolated her further, like a flower wilting under stage lights. That fragile happiness deepened her pain, leading to her mysterious death, where a broken glass and empty pill bottle told an incomplete story. A handkerchief still bore her red lipstick. A mark of happiness just out of reach. Could that love have saved her? Or did it crack her heart further? Chapter 4, Moments Facing Death. Each night, gasping breaths in a hospital echoed like calls from the grave for Inger. It was just the prelude. In 1959, she attempted suicide with sedatives, lying motionless in her New York apartment. A friend found her, her pulse faint, like a candle flickering out. "I don't want to go on," she whispered in the hospital. Depression had gnawed at her for years, but Hollywood didn't care. They only wanted her radiant smile under the stage lights. When death called once, it didn't let go, clinging to Inger like an unshakable shadow. In 1960, on the Cry Terror set, she nearly died from carbon monoxide poisoning in a subway tunnel, choking in smoke. She collapsed. Her breath caught. She refused initial treatment, murmuring. "Just let me go," co-star Rod Steiger recalled. She looked at death like an escape. Strangely, the medical report omitted the gas leak's cause, as if the incident was erased. In a Hollywood where glamour hid shady dealings, this may have been hushed to protect the film's reputation. Then, in 1961, on a flight to Lisbon, death roared again. As the Boeing screamed and caught fire, Inger curled under her seat, flames close. She nearly gave up but ran at the last moment. The final one off the plane. "I'm living on borrowed time," she said in a 1963 interview. These brushes with death weren't just accidents. They reflected Inger's unstable mind, amplified by Hollywood's pressure. In the 1960s, female stars hid all weakness. Inger smiled for cameras, but her eyes held panic, as if she knew death waited nearby. a colleague recalled. She acted like every role was a goodbye. The sense of living on borrowed time gripped her, a shadow lurking behind the spotlight. These near deaths deepened her depression, leading to that final moment in a cold kitchen, where a shattered glass and empty pill bottle told an unfinished tale. In that icy kitchen, only the oven's hum remained after death stalked her so long. Could her camera smile still save her from the dark? Chapter 5: Pressure Explodes Secrets and Rumors. On the afternoon of August 12th, 1969, at a Paramount studio, a paparazzo's lens caught bruises staining Inger Stevens' wrists under blazing stage lights. She smiled, but her eyes screamed a wordless secret. Hollywood, where light blended with shadow, made Inger a prisoner of her own fame. She fought to escape the blonde bombshell mold, but each step beyond the line was pulled back by an unseen hand. A 1964 article called her lacking personality, a knife to her pride. "Am I really an actress?" she whispered to a friend, her eyes lost like the abandoned girl of her youth. Rumors cut like blades. At a Paramount gala, Inger fled, her silk dress askew, face pale as if escaping a phantom. In 1970, on Run, Simon, Run, she had a hot and cold romance with Burt Reynolds, a crew member said. Inger smiled at him, but her eyes were full of pain, like she knew this love wouldn't save her. Darker whispers followed. She refused a risque role, angering powerful producers. If Inger backed out, Paramount lost millions. Another obedient face took her place. In 1960s Hollywood, where hidden power ruled, her defiance may have made her a target, caged in a golden prison. In a 1969 photo shoot, her wrist bruises reappeared, a photographer said. She hid them with her sleeve. But I saw her tremble, like she feared someone seeing through her. In 1970, during an interview, the bruises had faded to yellow, but she raised her sleeve only when cameras stopped. Amid depression and strained relationships, the bruises might signal self-harm or abuse from someone powerful, like Anthony Soglio in her first marriage. An unpublished script and rumors of a secret deal to silence her loomed like shadows behind the spotlight. Inger withdrew into her apartment, streetlights casting blades across her heart. She told a colleague, "I'm tired of pleasing everyone, but no one sees me." The pressure to hide from her secret marriage to Ike Jones to tabloid judgments choked her. Each night, she sat before a mirror, staring into her eyes, searching for the dreaming Ingrid from Stockholm. But Hollywood wouldn't let her be herself. The bruises, secret contracts, blacklist rumors were they just smoke, or traces of a fire that burned Inger's future. Chapter 6: The Final Night, Eternal Despair. 3:07 in the morning, a wine glass shattered, ripping through the silence of Hollywood Hills. Inger Stevens collapsed on the kitchen floor, beside an empty sedative bottle, the sharp smell of wine mixing with cold tile. The investigation timeline: 2:45 neighbors heard sobs and called 911. 3:18 police arrived, finding Inger motionless. 3:23 the ambulance left. But the 33 minutes from sobs to departure left an eerie gap, like a frame cut from her life's film. The coroner's report noted a shallow, downward cut on her chin, more likely from external force than a fall. What happened in that cold kitchen? Inger was preparing for the most deadly game, a flicker of hope to reclaim her light, but on the Dick Cavett show. Her smile was forced, her eyes lost in fog. She hid in her apartment, streetlights illuminating trembling diary pages. "If anyone reads this, know I was never not afraid," a friend said. She'd stare out the window, like waiting for someone who never came. On April 29th, Inger called, her voice faint as a breeze. "I'm so tired." Neighbors heard sobs, like a soul trapped in Hollywood's glass cage. The next morning, roommate Lola McNally found her on the floor, eyes wide but silent. Inger's lips moved, but her breath was gone, like a candle snuffed by the wind. Her death was ruled suicide by barbiturate overdose, but the broken glass, chin cut, and 33-minute gap hinted at something sinister. Amid chronic depression, Inger may have turned to pills to ease the pain of tabloid judgments. Hollywood scrutiny, and hiding her love for Ike Jones. The dose was too much, stealing her away. Or was another hand in the shadows? Closing her final door, she wrote in her diary, "I live to please, but I'm not me anymore." In the kitchen's wine-scented air, a question lingers: did Inger choose to leave? Or did someone close the door for her? Epilogue, a legacy in fading light. She died at 35 in a dark kitchen, but 30 years later, her Swedish maid's laugh still echoes on Sunday night screens. Inger Stevens left a lasting legacy. In 1990, an elderly woman smiled at Inger's name in TV Guide's Top 100 TV Stars, telling her granddaughter, "She taught us to dream with a broken accent, though her heart was shattered." In 1971, the Screen Actors Guild created a scholarship in her name, aiding immigrant actors chasing dreams like Inger's. Fans still gather, replaying The Farmer's Daughter, letting her laugh shine, a candle never extinguished in their hearts. But Inger was more than a star. She worked with disabled children, chairing California's Children's Council. She found light in those kids, a colleague said, beneath the glamour. Inger hid a broken heart from a mother's abandonment in Stockholm, a secret marriage to Ike Jones, rumored affairs with Bing Crosby and Burt Reynolds. The pressure to hide herself wove through her life. In the 1960s, Hollywood demanded perfection, forcing her to smile through a bleeding heart. Racial prejudice made her conceal her true love, while tabloids judged her with venom. She was a blonde doll. One article sneered, blind to her inner scars. One final thread, the 1969 wrist bruises, a silent struggles mark, the letter in the safe, trembling ink. "If they find out about us, we'll lose everything." And the 33-minute gap in the kitchen, where a broken glass told an unfinished tale. Some say Hollywood pressured her for refusing roles or knowing too much. In an industry ruled by hidden power, she was a vulnerable star, judged for living true, isolated for daring to love. She wrote, "I lived for everyone, but no one saw me." Her story is a lesson on mental health and fame's cost. She smiled for cameras, but her eyes screamed, "See me, just once." What picture do you see in these pieces? The bruises, the letter. 33 minutes, what story do they tell? Share your theories. Maybe Hollywood doesn't want us to know the answer. The frame fades, leaving a lone spotlight on an empty chair where Inger once stood, smiling, hiding every secret.